I stood at gate C-17 with my duffel bag at my feet and the boarding pass I'd printed at home 3 weeks ago when the call came through. Not a text. Rachel always called when she needed to deliver bad news in person. Like that made it less of a blow. "Dad," she said, and I could hear noise in the background. Voices, laughter, the clink of glasses. "I need to talk to you about something." I shifted the bag to my other shoulder. Terminal traffic flowed around me. People rushing to make connections, hugging at arrivals, the usual chaos of DFW on a Thursday afternoon. "I'm at the airport, sweetheart. About to board. What's going on?" There was a pause. Long enough that I thought we'd lost connection. That's the thing. I only have 2 guest tickets for graduation. Columbia's policy and Preston's parents. They've been major donors to the law school, and his father knows the managing partner at Sullivan and Cromwell where I'm starting, and I really need them there for networking. And I stopped hearing words. Just noise. My hand tightened on the phone. "Dad? Are you still there? What about me?" I said it quietly. Not angry. Not yet. Just confused. Like maybe I'd misunderstood. "You can watch the live stream. I'll send you the link. And we'll do something when I'm back in Dallas next month, I promise. A nice dinner, just us. But this is really important for my career, and Rachel." I cut her off, my voice still steady. 27 years as a firefighter taught you how to stay calm when everything's burning. I sold the house. Silence. I sold our house in Oak Cliff. The one your mother and I bought when we got married. The one you grew up in. I sold it in 2019 to cover your last year at Cornell and your first year of law school because you said the loans were too high. Do you remember that? Dad, I know, and I'm grateful. But I worked double shifts at the station for 15 years. Nights, I drove for Uber. Weekends, I did private security at Cowboys games. I did that so you wouldn't have to work during undergrad, so you could focus on your studies, because that's what your mother would have wanted. I appreciate everything you've done. But this isn't about that. This is about my future. Something in her tone, the practiced patience like she was talking to a child, made me see it clearly for the first time. I wasn't part of her future. I was the past she was trying to leave behind. "You're right," I said. "Enjoy your graduation, Rachel. You earned it." I hung up before she could say anything else. The woman at the gate was calling my boarding group. I looked at the pass in my hand. New York LaGuardia, seat 23. A departure 4:47 p.m. I'd bought it 2 months ago when Rachel first sent the graduation announcement. I'd requested the days off. I'd bought a new suit, navy blue, the first suit I'd owned since burying my wife 18 years ago. It was hanging in a garment bag in my closet back home. I walked to the counter and asked them to cancel my ticket. The agent looked sympathetic when I said it was a family emergency. She didn't ask questions. In the terminal, I found a bench near the windows where you could watch the planes take off. I sat there for a long time, the duffel beside me, watching the sky turn from blue to orange to that particular shade of purple Dallas gets right before dark. I didn't cry. I wanted to. Felt it building in my chest like smoke in a confined space. But it didn't come out. Instead, I thought about Rachel at 9 years old, standing at Emily's grave in her black dress that was already too small, holding my hand so tight I thought she might break my fingers. I'd promised her then that I'd take care of her, that she'd never want for anything, that I'd make sure she had every opportunity her mother and I had dreamed for her. I'd kept that promise. Maybe too well. Rachel wasn't always like this. That's what made it hard. She used to wrap her arms around my neck when I came home from the night shift, still in my turnout gear, smelling like smoke and sweat. She used to sit at the kitchen table doing homework while I made dinner, asking me to quiz her on vocabulary words. She used to cry when she had to leave for summer camp, even though she was 13 and embarrassed to admit it. I thought about the first time I noticed the shift. She was home from Cornell for Thanksgiving, junior year. She'd brought a friend, some girl from Connecticut, whose family had a house in the Hamptons. The friend kept looking around our rental, that one-bedroom apartment in East Dallas I'd moved us to after selling the house, with this expression I couldn't quite read. Pity. Maybe. Confusion. Rachel laughed too loud at the friend's jokes. She said, "Y'all less." She corrected my grammar once at dinner, gently, like she was doing me a favor. The friend left after 2 days. Rachel stayed through the weekend, but she spent most of it on her laptop. Doors closed, like the apartment was too small to breathe in. That was 2016. By 2019, the calls were mostly about money, tuition deadlines, housing deposits, a summer internship in Manhattan that didn't pay. I sent what I could, then I sent more. Then I sold the house. She cried when I told her. Said I shouldn't have, but she didn't refuse the money. I met Preston once. Last Christmas, Rachel brought him to Dallas for 3 days. He was tall, handsome in that catalog way, with perfect teeth and a handshake that was firm but somehow still soft. He called me sir and asked about firefighting, like he was interviewing for a paper. His family owned something in finance. He wore a watch that cost more than my truck. Rachel watched him when he talked, her face bright with something I hadn't seen in years. Pride, maybe, or relief. On the last night, they took me to dinner at a steakhouse in Uptown. Preston paid. He insisted, brushing off my wallet like it was a quaint gesture. The bill was $300 for 3 people. I didn't say anything, but I noticed Rachel didn't either. In the car afterward, Preston in the back on a work call, Rachel turned to me. He's amazing, isn't he? I wanted to say that I didn't know him well enough to judge. That 3 days of polite conversation over expensive meals didn't tell you much about a person. But she looked so happy, so desperate for my approval, that I just nodded. He is, I said. And I meant it, in a way. He was polished and confident and from a world I'd never understand. A world that could give Rachel everything I couldn't. A world that didn't include me. I drove back to the apartment that night, the terminal mostly empty now, the shops closing, the cleaners moving through with their carts. I got in my truck and sat in the parking garage for a while, hands on the wheel, not going anywhere. My phone buzzed. A text from Rachel. I'm sorry. I hope you understand. I stared at it, typed 3 different responses and deleted them all. Finally, I just wrote, I do, because I did understand. She was ashamed of me, of the apartment, of the truck, of my accent and my calloused hands and the fact that I'd never been to Europe or known which fork to use at a restaurant with more than 2 courses. She was ashamed, and she was choosing the life that required me to disappear. I drove home. The apartment was dark. I turned on the lamp by the couch, the one Emily had picked out at a garage sale in 1997, and sat down. The place was quiet in a way that felt permanent. On the coffee table was a stack of mail I hadn't opened yet. Bills, mostly, but underneath was something I'd been avoiding. A folder I'd pulled out last month when I was organizing the storage closet. Documents, records, receipts. I opened it. The first paper was from 2011, Rachel's freshman year at Cornell. A check for $18,500. The gap between her scholarships and the full cost of attendance. I'd taken a loan for that one, paid it off over 3 years, with overtime shifts. Next was 2012, $22,000. I'd picked up the Uber driving for that, did it for 2 years straight, every weekend, sometimes until 3 in the morning, picking up drunk college kids from Lower Greenville. 2013, $21,000. That was the year I sold the Harley I'd bought after Emily died, the one thing I'd kept for myself. 2014, $1,950,000. By 2015, the numbers got bigger. Cornell's tuition went up. Rachel's expenses went up. Summer in New York wasn't cheap. I started doing security work at AT&T Stadium, 12-hour shifts on Sundays. I missed 3 Christmas dinners at the station because I was standing in the parking lot watching drunk fans fight over who cut whom off. The house sold in 2019 for $185,000. After the mortgage payoff, I cleared $73,000. It all went to Rachel. Law school deposits, New York rent, moving costs, a professional wardrobe because apparently the clothes she already owned weren't good enough for law school networking events. I went through every paper, every bank statement, every canceled check. When I was done, I added it up on the back of an envelope. $1,700,000. That's what I'd given her over 10 years. Not counting the hours. Not counting the nights I fell asleep in my uniform because I was too tired to change. Not counting the vacations I didn't take, the dates I didn't go on, the life I didn't live, because all of it, every single piece, went to making sure Rachel had better. And now she had it. She had the degree, the fiancé, the job at a firm I couldn't even pronounce. She had everything I'd worked for, except she didn't have room for me at her graduation. I closed the folder and sat back. The anger I'd expected didn't come. Instead, I felt something colder, clearer, a kind of certainty. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't going to guilt her. I wasn't going to write her a letter explaining how much it hurt, because she already knew. She just didn't care enough for it to matter. But I was done funding a life that didn't include me. The next morning, I called my credit union. The woman on the phone was cheerful. The kind of cheerful that customer service people have when they think you're calling about something simple. "Hi, Mr. Anderson. I need to stop a recurring transfer," I said. I could hear typing. "Okay, let me pull up your account." "Which transfer?" "The one to Rachel Anderson. It's set up for the first of every month. I see it here. $1,200 a month to her checking account. Can I ask the reason for canceling?" I thought about that. She doesn't need it anymore. All right, I'll stop it effective immediately. Is there anything else? Actually, yes. I have a trust account set up. I need to make some changes. The trust had been Emily's life insurance money. $150,000 from the accident. I'd put it in a trust for Rachel when she turned 18, managed by the credit union. The terms were simple. She could access it for education, housing, or medical expenses. At 30, she'd get full control. I'd never touched it, never even thought about it. It was Rachel's future, her safety net, the thing Emily had left to make sure our daughter was okay. But Emily had left it to me first, and I was the trustee. "I want to redirect the funds," I said. "Redirect them where?" I hadn't planned this. It came to me sitting in the apartment last night, looking at the folder, thinking about all the ways I'd tried to give Rachel a better life. I want to set up a scholarship fund for children of first responders who want to go to college, firefighters, police, EMTs, kids whose parents work the kind of jobs where they don't have $160,000 to spend on education. There was a pause. "That's very generous, Mr. Anderson. We can help you set that up. Would you like to name the fund?" "The Emily Martinez Anderson Memorial Scholarship." "Beautiful. And the trust funds will transfer to this scholarship?" "Yes, all of it. I'll need you to come in and sign some papers." "When's good for you?" "Today." I spent 2 hours at the credit union that afternoon. The manager, a woman named Patricia who'd helped me set up the trust back in 2007, sat with me through the whole process. "Rachel doesn't know about this?" she asked carefully. "She knows the trust exists. She's never asked about it. I don't think she thinks about it much." Patricia didn't say anything, but her expression was kind. "You're doing a good thing. I'm doing what Emily would have wanted," I said. "She always talked about helping kids who didn't have advantages. This feels right." The paperwork took longer than I expected. By the time I left, it was almost 4 o'clock. I stopped at Whataburger on the way home, got a burger and fries, and sat in the parking lot eating slowly, watching people come and go. My phone rang. Rachel. I let it go to voicemail. She called again an hour later. Again, I didn't answer. By the time I got home, there were 3 missed calls and 2 texts. "Dad, can we talk? I feel like you're mad at me." I wasn't mad. That was the strange part. I just didn't feel much of anything. I texted back, "Not mad, just busy. Enjoy graduation weekend." She didn't respond. That night, I started going through the apartment, sorting things I'd been meaning to sort for years. Emily's boxes in the closet, old photos, Rachel's school projects I'd saved. I wasn't throwing anything away, just organizing, putting things in order. In one box, I found a Father's Day card Rachel had made me when she was 7. Construction paper, glitter, a stick figure drawing of us holding hands. "You're the best dad in the world," she'd written in crayon. I set it aside, carefully, and kept sorting. Graduation was on a Saturday. I didn't watch the live stream. Instead, I drove out to Emily's grave, something I hadn't done in over a year. The cemetery was quiet. Just me and a groundskeeper mowing grass in the distance. I sat on the bench near her headstone and told her about Rachel. About the call, about the money, about the scholarship. "I think I did something wrong," I said. "I think I gave her too much, or maybe not enough of the right things. I don't know." The wind picked up, moving through the oak trees overhead. "She's got everything we wanted for her. Good school, good job. She's going to be fine." But somewhere along the way, she decided I didn't fit into that life. And I can't keep pretending that doesn't hurt. I stayed until the sun started to set, then drove home. On Monday, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. A woman's voice, professional, asked for Thomas Anderson. Speaking. "Mr. Anderson, this is Jennifer Walsh from the Dallas Firefighters Association. I understand you've established a scholarship fund?" "I have. We'd love to talk to you about it. We have a program that helps administer these kinds of funds, connects them with students, handles the applications. Would you be interested in partnering with us?" By the end of the week, the Emily Martinez Anderson Memorial Scholarship was official. The Firefighters Association would manage applications. The first award, $10,000, would go out next spring. The local news picked it up. A retired firefighter honoring his late wife by helping first responders' kids go to college. They interviewed me at the station. I kept it simple, didn't mention Rachel. Just talked about Emily and the importance of education and how proud she'd have been. The segment aired on a Thursday. By Friday, I had emails from old buddies at the station, people I hadn't talked to in years, saying it was a good thing I was doing. Rachel called that night. "I saw the news story," she said. "Yeah? The scholarship fund. That's Mom's life insurance money, isn't it?" "It is. That was supposed to be for me." I leaned back in my chair. "It was supposed to be for your future. I'm using it for that. Just not the way you expected." "Dad, I don't understand. Are you punishing me?" "No. I'm helping kids who need it. Kids whose parents work 60-hour weeks and still can't afford to send them to good schools. Kids who won't be ashamed of where they come from." She was quiet. Then, "You think I'm ashamed of you. I know you are, Rachel. And that's okay. You've built a life I'm not part of. That's your choice. But I'm not going to keep funding it while you pretend I don't exist. That's not fair. Maybe not. But it's done." I heard her breathing, unsteady. "What about the monthly transfers? Those are canceled too." "Dad, you're starting at a law firm that pays $215,000 a year. You'll be fine. It's not about the money." "Then what is it about?" She didn't answer. "I love you," I said. "I always will, but I'm not going to stand in your way anymore. You wanted a life without me in it. You got it." I hung up before she could respond. The months that followed were quieter than I expected. Rachel didn't call again. I didn't reach out. I started spending more time at the station, volunteering with the recruit training program, started going to the gym again, started dating, casually. A woman named Carol who worked at the library and didn't ask too many questions about my daughter. The scholarship fund grew. Friends from the department donated. So did some of the guys I used to work with at the stadium. By Christmas, we had enough for 3 awards instead of 1. I sent Rachel a card that December. Nothing personal, just Merry Christmas and my name. She didn't send one back. In March, I got an email. "Rachel." Subject line, "I'm sorry." I almost deleted it without reading. But something made me open it. "Dad, I've been thinking a lot about what you said, about being ashamed. You were right. I was. I am. I don't know when it started, but somewhere along the way, I started believing that my success meant leaving behind everything from before, including you." Preston's family had a party last month. His mother introduced me to some of her friends as Preston's fiancé from Dallas, Cornell, and Columbia Law. "She didn't ask about you. No one did. And I realized I'd never mentioned you. Not once. Not to anyone who matters in that world. I told Preston I wanted to postpone the wedding. He didn't understand. We broke up last week. I know I can't undo what I did. I know I hurt you. And I know saying sorry doesn't fix it. But I want you to know that I see it now. I see what I gave up to fit in somewhere I don't even belong. I'm proud of the scholarship. Mom would be proud too. You did the right thing. I'm sorry I wasn't there to help you do it. I read it 3 times. Then I closed my laptop and sat with it. She was sorry. I believed her. But sorry didn't change what happened. It didn't change the fact that when it mattered, when she had to choose, she chose them. A week later I replied, Rachel, I appreciate you writing. I know it wasn't easy. You're young. You're going to make mistakes. I made plenty at your age. But the difference is, I had your mother to pull me back when I went too far. You don't have that. You had me, and you pushed me away. I'm not angry. I'm just done waiting for you to remember who I am. You're my daughter, and I'll always love you. But I don't trust you anymore, and I'm not sure I can get that back. If you want to be part of my life again, you're going to have to earn it. Not with apologies, but with action. With showing up. With being the person I raised you to be. I hope you figure it out. I really do. But I'm not going to hold my breath. Dad. She didn't write back. I heard through a mutual connection that she'd moved back to Dallas, taken a job at a smaller firm with better hours, that she was renting a place in Oak Lawn, that she'd asked about me, but she didn't call. By the time the first scholarship awards went out, I'd made peace with it. I attended the ceremony at the Firefighters Association, watched 3 kids, children of Dallas firefighters and paramedics, receive checks that would cover a year of community college or trade school. They looked overwhelmed, grateful, the kind of grateful Rachel used to look when she was young. One of them, a girl named Sophia, whose father had been killed in a warehouse fire in 2019, hugged me so hard I thought my ribs would crack. Thank you, she said. This changes everything. Your dad would be proud, I told her. And I meant it. That night, I drove home alone, turned on the lamp Emily had picked out all those years ago, made myself dinner, watched the news, and I realized something. I wasn't waiting anymore. I wasn't angry. I wasn't bitter. I was free. Rachel made her choice. I made mine. And if she ever wanted to come back, the door wasn't locked. But I wasn't standing in the doorway holding it open, hoping. I had a life to live. I had kids to help. I had Emily's legacy to honor. And that, I was learning, was enough.